Definitions matter. Clearly defining the features of a genre matters. They matter so much that no matter how much money you spend, no matter how much player base you have easy access to, you will fail if you ignore them. Okay, so now that DMZ is another soon-to-be corpse in the extraction shooter genre, this would be a good time to talk about what is a good measurement to determine if an extraction game is casual or hardcore. Why does that matter, and is there an upper or lower limit to that? Before I get started, if you've never played DMZ, why not? What kept you away from at least trying it? For everyone else, what kept you playing it, or what drove you away? I'm curious to see your thoughts on it. Comment down below. I'm going to start off by making a statement that will likely get a lot of questions. But hang in there and I'll explain my rationale. In my opinion, the reason DMZ and Hazard Zone before it failed is that despite the massive resources available to these two studios, they failed to understand what makes an extract game appealing. I believe that Hunt Showdown is probably the most casual an extract shooter can possibly be while retaining its appeal within the genre. Now, let that statement simmer for a bit while I explain why I said it. The terms casual and hardcore get thrown around a lot, and it varies wildly based on how you use it. In the case of shooters, it's often associated with how realistic it is. But if you narrow your focus on a genre, that definition tends to be insufficient. Let's just take a straightforward example like an arena shooter. Just compare game series like Halo and Quake. One has significantly steeper learning curves than the other, and while both are in the same genre, they demand very different things from their player base. There are a variety of things they have in common and significant design choices that result in dramatically different experiences. You can probably judge how casual or hardcore an arena shooter is by how hard it is to break a snowballing win cycle. The whys of this specific example isn't important. What I am trying to convey is that there is a scale, and what you use to measure it matters. For extraction shooters, by comparison, the scale is actually really easy to measure. The short answer is loot value. The long answer is tension, which is derived from how much you risk during a drop, which is measured by potential loss, which is measured by worth, which can be measured by the time it takes to attain items you will lose if you die. Yeah, I know, I don't make it sound simple, but it really is, I assure you. As they say in the army, let me break it down Barney style. If you lose nothing, you risk nothing. If you risk nothing, you have no tension. And tension is the main selling point of an extract game. If you lose a lot, you risk a lot. If you risk a lot, you get a lot of tension. If that's not clear enough, I do have a video linked above where I kind of define extract shooters in general and go into further detail. With that in mind, back to my statement. Hunt Showdown's economy is so forgiving that I don't think you can get much more forgiving and retain any meaningful level of tension. Unlike Battlefield's Hazard Zone, DMZ had some level of persistent economy outside of drops, but it was so low it didn't really translate into a different result. So clearly it's not a question whether or not you have it or you don't. It's a question of whether it's enough to make a meaningful impact. Now I know there may be some of you questioning me calling Hunt Showdown forgiving. The only real consistent measurement I can use to gauge the value of digital goods in a game is the time it would take to reacquire a loss. You can load up the most expensive loadout, lose it, and acquire the means to resupply it in a matter of minutes. When you compare that to Tarkov or even Cycle Frontier, it's quickly apparent that there's a big disparity. And this is not to say that it's a negative thing. I'm just trying to demonstrate the scale, and that I think Hunt has found what I believe to be the lowest level of tension that can be made exciting to play. You know, it's not really surprising that Battlefield and Call of Duty made the modes the way they did. Both have grown their player bases over time by appealing to as many players as possible, which generally requires different tactics. You're appealing to players by giving them excitement through victory and power. The extract genre is appealing to players with the fear of loss, which is a very different kind of energy, and I would probably say close to the opposite kind. After all, when you're trying to sell players the sense of power and victory, fear kind of gets in the way of that. They tried creating an extract mode without the fear, and that just doesn't work. In fact, it's such a fundamental part of the genre that Call of Duty, one of, if not the largest shooter franchise in the world, with all of its built-in player base, its funding, and its pre-established resources for making the game, could not muscle their way past it. And just like the cycle, DMZ should be used as an example for other studios. But in this case, displaying that even a mountain of money won't buy you a successful extract without risk. If you're still watching, hit that like and subscribe button. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for watching, and good hunting.